Okay, welcome to OEG Live. This is Alan Levine here for you from the Open Education Global Studios. And we're back to doing some live webcasts. It's actually been since Open Education Week since I did some of these, and I'm a little bit rusty, but we like to bring you again these unstructured open conversations about open education. And right now, and I'm going to bring my colleague Marcella on stage, we're here to really draw up the excitement for the OE Awards for Excellence, which I hope everybody knows is happening out there. Nominations have been open a few weeks, and you've been seeing them come in. What do you think so far, Marcella? Oh, I think we have a no mic going on. So Marcella will check her mic. I will carry on here while we just mention that yeah, we've had a good stream of nominations come in already, which makes us very happy. We know a lot of them generally come in towards the latter stage, which is the end of June. So there's lots of time out there. And I just will say, when I started with OE Global, this was the program that Marcella has run for a long time since its beginning, and she has the full history. And I was like, yeah, awards are nice. That's good. Yeah, people get recognition. A couple do. But it's like, yeah, awards. You know, that's a lot of like fanfare, right? And then I started doing the OEG Voices podcast with the people who had won awards. And every time I was quite overwhelmed by the things that people said about what it meant for them. And not only the honoring part, about what the recognition meant, how it affected them, what they could do afterwards. And we just want to like give more of that experience to as many people as possible. And so today, we're not going to talk about the awards too much. You can get all the information on the website. You'll find the nomination form. We have the category explorer to let you know how to like figure out which category you might want to nominate in, or to understand. And each category you will find has links to previous award winners. If you need inspiration, likely you don't need inspiration. You have an idea of something or someone that should get recognized. So
can you hear me now?
Perfecto. It's good to hear you, Marcella.
Okay. Apologies for the mic thing. I don't know what happened. And yes, I just want to chime in with you. And first of all, thank you for coordinating this call, Alan. It's always an exciting conversation to have around awards. And as you were saying, we have these awards every year. And it's and for all of us, it's always an exciting time of the year to get to celebrate the community through the awards. So I'm super happy to be here. And as you were saying, we have all the information of the awards on the website. And we are very excited to be able to speak with some of past award winners that have been strong supporters of the project of the Open Education Awards for Excellence for such a long time. And so I'll be quiet, and maybe we can invite them to be part of the conversation.
Excellent. So I'm going to bring on our guests who've been waiting patiently in the studio while I blab on about the awards, and just so much appreciate everybody being willing to drop in here. And I'm just gonna like let's do the intro part, and then we'll come back and talk about the awards. But just let us know obviously who you are. We can read your labels, but and the kind of work that you do. So I'm going to start with my good colleague that I got to know in doing his podcast, Giovanni Zamotti. Hello, Giovanni. How are you this morning?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. I'm from the University of Iowa. I teach Spanish, language teaching, linguistics. We have been writing a lot of like OER, open access textbooks, because we want to transition all our students to OER. At the same time, I'm also founder of GrayLed, which we are developing a learning platform for open access textbooks. So I love open access things.
Excellent. And I'll get the link in there. We covered a lot of this in your podcast, and I'm kind of excited to hear what's happening, because Gray Labs was just starting when we last talked.
That was like a long time ago.
A long time ago, like internet distortion time. And now I very much want to welcome in evening time, where she is someone else with the Italian accent that I love hearing, and our representative too of the board of directors, Paola Corti. Ciao, Paola. How are you tonight? You might have to.
Same problem with the microphone. Ciao, Alan. Ciao, everyone. Happy to join you in this call. Thank you for having me. So I'm Paola Corti, and I'm based in Italy, as Alan just said, and I work at Politecnico di Milano in the Learning Innovation Unit, but I also work as the Open Education Community Manager at Spark Europe with librarians, and it's a privilege to do that too.
Excellent. And every time I talk to a librarian, I'm like, I love librarians even more. And I'm not just saying that because they play such a pivotal role now in open education. And then last and certainly not least, my good friend and longtime colleague and guy who gives me a hard time every time I see him, Terry Green.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm the president of the Alan Levine fan club. And I am also, I'm only bringing the Western Canadian prairie accent. Sorry about that. And so I'm at Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario, and I'm the senior e-learning designer there. So we build online courses and just help the university with digital learning stuff and trying to push the open education movement further and further.
Terry's very humble. He's a professional podcaster. He has a really big show, and I'm a frequent listener. And also, I had the fortune to talk to some of your colleagues last week
awesome.
for the award-winning project on the homelessness in Canada, OER, and we had a fantastic conversation.
Awesome.
So we'll circle back to talk about, I mean, I'll ask you to share the award that you got, but more, let's get to like what's been happening since then. So I'll circle back to Giovanni.
So I think I got the award 2 or 3 years ago. Since then, we have kept pushing for my program to switch all textbooks to Spanish OER textbooks. We've been writing more and more textbooks, some where I've been like the main person writing the textbook with 1 or 2 others. We also started a new book where we got writers, professors from different universities in the US, and each person was in charge of just like one small chapter. And that was like a very nice collaborative project that is in editing phase, reviewing phase, and we should be publishing it in the next 2 to 3 months. So things have been going well. We've been like pushing a lot of content, also like advocating for other people to write their own content. So the beauty of OER is you can remix stuff. So you don't have to like start everything from scratch. You can grab something, remix it, make it work. And I like it.
And like have things like expanded in interest on your campus since we last talked?
Yes, I mean we have a small grants. Also, before we were talking about librarians, they are great. And so one of our librarian here, she has been pushing really hard for this grant. And I think we are on the 5th year of the grant. And every year we had 5, 6, 10 projects being awarded some very small amount of money. But every single professor that got the grant created some content and has been using it in their classes. So things are expanding slowly. I would say that we are still less than maybe like 3, 4, 5% of professors using OER as the only resources in their classes, but things are expanding.
That's fantastic. And you had mentioned, and I'd like to hear more about this project you're working on the side somewhere where you have side time. Can you tell us about what Gray Labs is?
So Gray Lab is a learning platform where people are going to be able to create OER resources, so create textbooks. But so, there are already like some platform like Pressbook that are working really well. We are creating something that is slightly different that fits the US market, where a lot of professors are relying on the learning platform from the main publisher like Pearson, McGraw-Hill, that provide, besides just the textbook, they also provide all these learning materials that are self-graded and then professor can assign to the professors and stuff. So in our platform, professor will be able to create books that will always be available for everyone for free. But then at the same time, they will be able to create activities connected to the books, flashcards connected to the books, and share them with everyone else, every other professor. And so by doing so, I hope that we can start creating more and more textbooks that can be adapted and can have all this like ancillary material that it's so useful for professors that we all create, but it's really hard for us to share. And I started this company because when we started writing textbooks for my program, we have like a quite large program with 1,000 students per semester. My main limitation to switch to a full OER textbook is that we have to go back to all the assignments on paper instead of having everything done online like we do with Vista, which is our current publisher.
Well, fantastic. And I'm going to call you. I'm going to contact you later. I'd like to have if possible, to have a show just on that so we can see what it looks like and how it works. But
yes,
fantastic work that you do. And so, Paula, you're on the award list a few times. You also help review the awards. Like, you do everything. So can you tell us about your award experience and how that obviously filters into many of the things you're doing now?
So let me start first from being grateful for all the people that shared their experiences through the award, because I'm still learning from them. And just now I'm finishing designing a MOOC in Politecnico di Milano. And guess what? Terry Green's Liberated Learners will be one of the projects quoted there, because I think that the experience that you did with them, with involving students, and please tell more about it later. It's so important that I really wanted to give it the right weight in the MOOC. So for me, I would start being grateful for being involved in the award also because being involved in reviewing the nominations is a privilege because you can see many of them. So it's been really a privilege, and I've been learning since I was involved for the first time. My personal experience with the awards is somehow, if I'm not wrong, and please correct me in that case, because I'm getting older and my memory is getting weaker and weaker. It was 2017 with an OER MOOC that we designed and published in Politecnico. And it was our first open MOOC ever. And with open MOOC, I mean released with an open license. And it was just the beginning of a long story that still continues. So actually, it was a game changer winning this award, because from that first MOOC, we started inviting our content experts and professors to share their MOOC content openly. And from a very shy and humble proposal at the beginning, it somehow became the norm. So whenever we invite someone to create a new MOOC and they come to us, usually it is the decision is in between licenses, not if releasing with an open license or not. And we are getting better at sharing the content of the MOOCs more openly, meaning allowing people to download everything. And the last experience that we are finishing now across this summer is to design a MOOC with radical openness in mind, meaning that the approach is not to create the most beautiful MOOC that we can, but to design it, including videos, in order to allow others to adapt them as far as possible, including sharing videos with layers so that anyone can change the keywords in the videos themselves. So this is pretty radical, and it's interesting as an experience. And I am grateful to my managing director, Susanna Sancassani, because without her commitment on the level of our unit, we couldn't be able to do this kind of research and exploration through that. So it's a step-by-step process. And the other award is related to the work of the NOL, not mine, but the librarians in the European Network of Open Education Librarians. They won the collaboration award, the Open Collaboration Award, which is perfect for them, I think, because they've been working relentlessly together across borders, despite the differences in the languages, despite their different level of knowledge of English as a second language. And despite all that's going on at the European level lately, So it's been a privilege to be there and see them doing their best to make open education thrive at the European level.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to come back because actually you're involved also with another important award, the Open Resilience Award. And I think we should come back
yes.
and talk about that one as well. I'm going to bring Terry Green onto the big screen right now, who's been in the mix a few times. And tell us about your experiences, Terry.
The first thing that comes to mind is how it's cool to when after you've won an award, you get invited to be part of other things, which is very cool and fun. Like the 25 years of ed tech audiobook, I got to read a chapter for that. And also the cool thing is that we share these open projects and see all these cool ideas, and we take those cool ideas and put a twist on it for our own. It just it begets more things. I find that so exciting, which, like, for example, that the audiobook version of an open book, the Martin Weller's 25 Years of Ed Tech, was a great project. It won an award. And from that, we get this expertise and these open documents on how to do this thing. And we're going to take it. And now I'm working on the audiobook for the Higher Education for Good book that Catherine Cronin and Laura Chernowitz were editors of. So I get to be a part of that, and connect with all these amazing people all over the world. And whoever's getting the links and putting them up, you're so fast. You're not doing that yourself, are you, Alan?
Yeah.
Wow, you're good. You're good.
I love my hyperlinks, Terry. and there's a little bit. I'm going to bring everybody on screen. So obviously there's many connections here, but I'm in the way Paulo described this new OER with it's deliberately designed for maximum remix to be able to make video available, which is actually not easy to do. I imagine you could talk about it. And Terry has been part of so many projects, and especially his interest in audio. And I think also you did something where you did an audiobook version of John Dron's book.
Yeah.
Just on a whim, right?
Yeah. I was using some AI voices and openly licensed instrumental beats music, very quietly underneath. I gave, I think for that one, both options, with and without. But yeah, it's a fun way to that's how I read the book, by working through the process of creating them. So that's a pretty fun way to get the knowledge in for me and out to others as well. It was called How Education Works, and it's a great book, open, free. Check it out.
That's great. Well, and for anybody now, what would you say to someone watching, a reason to go to this effort to do a nomination? I mean, it may be a little bit obvious, but what encouragement can you offer our audience out there?
I would say it's such an honor if someone nominates you, that's something you can give to someone else. You can't make someone else do it for you. You can maybe ask, but doing it for someone else it's great. You're giving something to someone else that you would love to have yourself, I think.
May I add to that? Because I think that it's also something that gives a little bit of recognition to people who are doing so much for the others, and they are so busy working for other people, they don't even think about themselves or having any kind of a word of recognition for what they do. So it's a pleasure to give them a little bit of visibility.
And I'm glad you said that, because I didn't find the link fast enough for Terry, but I will get it. You posted in OEG Connect this idea about there's a lot of people who do what might seem as not the big projects, but they're so key and instrumental to helping all these projects happening. And so they might not get an award. And we are taking that to heart to think about some ways we can do regular ongoing amounts of maybe small recognition. Just the purpose. Yeah, it's to say thank you, right? And I'm kind of encapsulating what you said, but also it's just to elevate, that there's a lot of people out there who are doing this in the role of their jobs and their passion, and we should do as much recognition as possible. And I welcome any ideas as to how we might do that.
If I can chime in just very quickly, because I think that's one of the thing, Alan, that we have been discussing in the past, of working with the awards for several years now, more than a decade. And one of the things that we really love about the awards is just making sure that we take the time to celebrate the community, because as these three wonderful examples that we have on the call, everybody's so busy doing their thing that they forget to celebrate the work that they're doing. And we just want to make sure that we don't forget, and that we allow for others to know about the work that they're doing, but also to take a pause and really see the amazing work that the community is doing. I think that has always been one of the layers that we really appreciate about working with the awards every year. And you and I know that every time that we get the nominations, we get so invested. Oh, did you see that one? And do you see the work that they're doing in that corner of the world? And otherwise, we wouldn't get the time to really zoom into the amazing work that the community is doing. So yes, thank you, all three of you that are here, Paola, Terry, and Giovanni, for taking the time to speak with us and share a little about the work. Maybe sharing your work, we will encourage others to do the same. So I'm always super excited to be part of the awards. And as Alan is saying, making it be not only one thing in a year, but a recurrent thing throughout the year, making sure that we support the community in that way. Because one thing, a common thread that we find within the community is the humbleness that everybody has about their work. Like, no, I'm doing my project here in my little corner, which is very worth highlighting and celebrating. And we want to make sure that we do that.
And, seeing it in progress, awards are kind of this big funnel. We dump in a lot of nominations. Last year we had 173. We share, in August we'll do again, the short list, like the semifinalists, which is a pool of 30 plus, and then we come down to the final group. But we're trying to flip that funnel over. So we started listing last year everybody who was nominated, because we want that to be known, because they're all interesting, and we will share all that again. So obviously, the awards has many impacts, as everybody here is saying. Everybody here is continuing to do work and do new work. I'm kind of curious. It's a maybe not an easy question, but where do you get your ideas from? Where do you turn to sort of open your minds to trying something that you haven't done, or just where are your sources for inspiration, if that's a possible question to answer?
I can start here immediately because about this last MOOC that we are working on, for example, and as you said, I'm not working by myself. I have wonderful video editors and graphic designers on my side who accepted the challenge of trying to do something that is meant to be radically open and changing completely their working process. But I think that in our case, for example, it's from the practice, everyday practice. Whenever we want to reuse something and it's a video content, even if it is shared openly, sometimes you have to ask for a higher definition resolution version. So you have to have someone to write to, you have to wait for the answer, etc. And then you have a one-layer video that you can't adapt very easily. So if we want to be radically open, then that's where the idea came from. And it's not something that I think generated in me because I'm far from being a genius. It's only that I've been watching so many good work done by the community, and I see that people are doing their best to reuse. That's where this idea came from. I was talking about this with Jonathan Poritz yesterday evening, and I said, look, I'm not even sure that anything that comes out from my mind is original, because it might come from something that I read or learned somewhere, and I'm not even good enough to remember when or where. So that's part of the experience of sharing. It's just being very explicit about it. That's my
Thank you.
I was gonna say, like, you, Alan, are a great role model of this with your blogging, but also in OEG Connect. The what's new, what's exciting, those come out regularly. Like, it's just an endless supply of things to check into. And if more people did stuff like that, it'd be amazing. But just the awards themselves, like getting a spotlight and get the idea. Like I won the Open Patch Book Award in 2019. That idea came from Robin DeRosa's, which should be like, if there was like a list of the legendary OERs of all time, that would be in the Hall of Fame 100%. So like, it's just riffing on those ideas, like you said, Paula.
I can say all our books, everything we created that was open, came straight from needs. So, for example, I've been working with Alexis on a book for healthcare, that Spanish for healthcare, that we've been using already like for 3 years. It's still not like officially released because we're waiting for some reviewers, but it came up because Pearson decided to stop selling their book, and then Yale University Press decided that their book was not making enough money anymore, and so they both stopped selling the book. And so it was like, either like we use this book and find ways to use it, which is against copyright license, or we work on it. And so we remixed another book to make it work for our classes. And so everything I've been doing up until now is not creativity. It's just, I need it for my program. I need it for my students. So we do it.
Oh, and thank you for saying that. And it links me a little bit back to maybe a tangent, but in Connect, there's been this interesting, AI, but the idea that David Wiley posted about like not changing the focus, but a lot of people say like there's a lot of focus on open textbooks to improving student learning, which I think everybody here has that in mind when they do an open textbook. I don't disagree with that. But, is there something happening that you see coming down the line that might change the way we think about OER?
I think my AI abilities are early stages, but to me, and I'm reading that Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick, which is a really great book about learning how this all works. So I highly suggest it. But using it as a co-pilot to speed things up, I think, is a key feature of it that is a good approach to keeping the human in it. So maybe it'll just help us get open textbooks or whatever up and running more quickly, which is cool. But I'm not at the forefront. Like, I know we've been talking about this for 2 years, and half the time I'm just tired of hearing about it, to be honest. Like, my goal will always be to just keep the human in all of it, but if it can be a partner, maybe that's cool.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to change this to a discussion about the two-letter demon, but I think it makes for interesting discussion. Do you have? Are you? I'm going to put everybody not to name anything, and I know that one of you on the call has already done this. Do you have some nominations in mind this year? And how do you go? Like when you're thinking about it, what's can you say maybe like? How you go about framing a nomination, because I think sometimes people I'll get to your question in a second, Robert. People like there's the form and we try to make it understandable, but like I kind of been making an effort to say like the most important thing is that place for the narrative, and it's not to fill it with a lot of things, but it's about like getting something that's going to capture the attention of the reviewers to say why this person or this project really fulfills this category. And the categories are kind of broad deliberately. But it's almost, I would focus on the writing of that more than trying to like get lots of links and stuff in there, because making the case for the award. So how would you go about doing that, Terry or Giovanni?
I'm not 100% sure, but before coming here, I didn't have any nomination in mind. I didn't even like think the process, but now I'm like, okay, I need to nominate a few people. I don't want to name them right now, but I will nominate. I will have 2 nominations coming in the next few days. And I hope other people listening us right now, they will have more nomination. Be like, oh, that person I know that is doing something cool, something interesting, and
It sounds like Alan's putting the strong arm on people, and I am like, there's two approaches. I mean, we do a lot of like broad campaigns. We do social media, and we send out the newsletters, and we push this stuff in OEG Connect. But I tend to think what's really influential is when you approach one person or a group, and I knowing the people here, I'm pretty sure you do that within the circles that you work in, but making actually like a request to say like, hey, I know, you might have, or this project going on. Maybe you could submit a nomination for them. And I think those actually bring in stronger nominations, maybe, I don't know, than the others. And so I would, like to hear about that idea, and also what we can do to make sure we get more global representation. We had about 38 countries represented last year where the nominations came from. And I'd like to fill that map in more. And that's a tall order, because we only have, effect on where we are in the world. But are there things we can think about making the idea of awards more global?
I almost think if you crowdsource ideas for what projects should get nominations without putting people on the spot to make the nominations, might make people consider, oh yeah, I forgot about it. I should work on that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'm working on a nomination. I need the stress of the deadline to really motivate me to get it done. But I'm going to nominate a student that worked with us.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. We really like to see the student awards. I think there's a year recently where we didn't really have enough to do a nomination. And last year we were excited to put 2 in. It's quite possible. In previous years, we had more of a like multiple winners in categories. And I think we might also go that route this year, because I think the more projects we can surface, the better. I'm sorry, Paula, were you going to say something? Or I just want to put you on the spot.
Don't worry. Don't worry. My pleasure. I think that the award can be also, the nomination for the award can be a good opportunity to highlight the work of the people that are behind the scenes often. I'm thinking now, thanks to you, Terry, that I have to send an email to someone that I know that has been working with the students quite a lot. So why not to invite them to send a nomination for an award, an additional award? I think that if we can reach out to our networks and let them know as far as possible that it's not a hard job to fill in a nomination, it's a good opportunity really to have some recognition. And Alan, you said about the description and the narrative. I think that part is really important, because when you review other people's nominations or other projects and you don't know the project, or you don't know the language of the local language of that project, the narrative is so much important to let the evaluators understand what's happening in it. And so it's not a big job to be done, honestly, from experience. But I think it's a very good opportunity. There are so many people out there that are doing an amazing job, and we need to know about that work that is available openly, because we need to learn from them.
And probably also, I'd say that the links are pretty important too, because you write the narrative, but then, if you're reviewing, you probably want to look, and maybe I'll ask Giovanni, because you had some experience, you helped with reviews. What made a nomination stand out for you when you were looking at them, Giovanni?
I think I was looking mostly at the contribution they're doing, their project, and how their project is like the impact the project is having, because so many majority of the nomination, all the projects, they have a lot of impact on their communities, on their students, on their OER community in general. So like I think the impact is a good thing to focus on the nomination. And one thing for the future winners, the award comes with a very, very cool prize. I think it's the coolest prize you can get from an award.
I think you're talking about the trophy.
The trophy, yes.
And so yeah, I should have had a picture of that. And I have to emphasize, like, there is some confusion. These are for the individual awards. They get a this 3D trophy of the yellow award trophy dude guy. That is wonderfully. It's a great story. It's manufactured for us from the 3D lab, from the Fab Lab in Costa Rica, and they've been doing this a couple years for us. And last year we even did a live webcast with them as they were making it. And so yeah, the award's pretty fantastic. The trophy is. Everybody else can get a picture. No, I won't say that, but we will give out. We've been giving out digital badges too, and so and a nice certificate. Actually, what's rewarding as I'm doing my regular link trekking and looking things online, when you go to an organization and they still have like the icon that they got for their award from like 2017 or 2016. And so, that bit matters. And we want to, again, as I think folks are saying, we want to generate that for a lot of people to be able to have that. Wow. Marcella, I'm like, do you have anything else to sort of put to our panel here?
No, maybe just to add that when we were discussing about the categories and where to nominate and encouraging everybody to send their nominations, as Paola was saying, it's not so difficult. The nomination form is also intentionally simple to encourage as many nominations as possible. And sometimes we do receive some questions under which nomination would they, category, they would be able to nominate. And we have multiple categories we're trying to fit everybody in. But if you don't find that category for your project, I think it's worth mentioning that we do have a wild card. We are super open in wanting to celebrate everybody. So if you don't find a specific category for your project, tell us what it is that you would want to nominate. I think that's the other thing that is worth mentioning. And again, the nomination form is intentionally simple, just to encourage everybody to nominate, particularly for the community in certain regions that we have underrepresented in the awards. I think having it simple, particularly because of the language barrier that they might be having, keeping it very simple. And the other thing that I would like to mention is that we do accept nominations in every language. So if you're listening to this and you have a project in some language that is not English and you would like to put it forward, we're more than happy to receive it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because we've worried that it seems like it's unfair to ask someone to have to write it in English. And I think somewhat there's an expectation that they have to write it. And we have some people who have specialties in languages. And so I would encourage anyone, as you're talking to colleagues around the world, to consider, if you write, your nomination in Japanese or Urdu or something like that, we'll find someone who can review it, we'll translate it, and don't make that a barrier. And in fact, it's been taking me a long time to edit this podcast that I did recently. And we end up having it in one single audio. We've got a mixture of me asking questions in English and the people who are guests answering in French and Spanish. And it's been an interesting process to try to edit all this, which is another story, because I'm editing Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, but I found a way. But I think it's important as possible that I think we should have people express themselves in the most clear way that they find. And I feel like they have to fit some mold of, North American, European perspective. So thank you for bringing that up. So yes, it could be like I don't have a Stanley Cup with me, but I have a Moose mug. And so, yeah, that's what the award's like. I don't know. I didn't really have my list of questions. I just wanted to have this conversation. You definitely shared with us some important things, and oh, I know. I'm going to put Paul on the spot again. So, like the story of the Open Resilience Award and how that has like expanded so much. Do you mind relaying that one again, Paula?
Oh, I'm very happy to do that. It was 2022, so two years ago, and I know that it might be, it's not so cheerful as other things that we said so far, but I think it's very important that you bring this up, Alan. So the winner of the award for open resilience was Tetiana Kolesnikova and her library in Uzyst University, Dnipro, Ukraine, because they started working, I would say, taking their first steps about open education while they were still across the start of the war. Okay. And then we were on a call just before the day before the war started, and because they wanted to organize a conference about open education, and they continued organizing it despite what was going on. So who better than them can represent open resilience? So it's been an ongoing process. And as Tatiana used to say, it's a step-by-step and small step tactics, what they are doing, but they are continuing to advocate for open educational resources at the national level, and the ministries are listening. So somehow they are making bigger steps than other countries. you know, it's interesting to see how many efforts they've been putting into this, but also how important it was for them to feel the community of open education so close. So they really feel that we are close to them and that we are available if they need anything. So that's what we are here for. I think that's the perfect example of what should happen in our community. And they are doing their best. So it's a pleasure to know this project.
Oh yeah, and such an inspiring story, and like the first thought is like, oh, like these people going through this terrible thing in the Ukraine, they're already involved in OER. I mean, it wasn't like it was new and it had to be introduced to them, and what the librarians did to make that happen was really obviously award-winning effort. So thank you for telling that story again. And I don't know. I just want to, again, like, it's just, I want to keep everybody here for a couple hours, but I can't do that. But it's so good to see you. And I just want to thank everybody here who does what they do. And I'll call on Paula because her hand is raised.
Yeah, I just have one thing to add. In order for people to send more nominations, again, I would invite you not to consider the license of the resource a boundary, because it's really important to consider the fact that the choice of the license might not be in the hands of the people who are creating the resource. It might be an institutional choice. It might be connected to a specific funded opportunity. So it might be not in the hands of the creators. And sometimes it's important to give room for those licenses that are, let's say, considered less open, because it's the farthest people can go. So I would encourage you to give visibility to every kind of project with an open license, because it's a way for them to be more visible and maybe to have the visibility that gives them the strength to ask for a more open license the next time.
Good point. Was Giovanni?
Yeah, I wanted to say something like about licenses and stuff. We've been working on this project for like 4 or 5 years, and we finally, starting last year, we developed this tool for language self-assessment at the University of Iowa. That the idea is to make it open, that everyone from any university can use it. We have been working really hard because we got a grant for it, but the people that developed for us at the university use something that doesn't allow us to make it public yet. So we are waiting on that. So license can change, and we are hoping right now it's private, but we are hoping to make it public. So it's a very good point about license, and that we can make sure that license change and improve the way we want.
Thank you, Giovanni. Is it the can-do statements that I just quickly found?
Yes, it's based on the can-do statements from ACTFAL. It was a long story. We started using it pen and paper. Then we worked with a student from computer science, a graduate student, to try to make something. And now we have this tool that works really well, but only student with UIOA login can use it. And we are trying to make it available to everyone else.
Okay, so now I have two things that I'm going to call on you to demo sometime in the future, but that's really great to know. And so, again, people have said here, like, this is what we value about this community, that despite the pressures and things that we juggle and deal with, that the excitement of finding what's going on elsewhere and giving us ideas and helping give shout outs to other people. And I'd also like to make sure people know, like, if you nominate something, it doesn't have to be like the big, huge, giant, like all the spotlights on project. There are lots of projects that are really important for what they're doing with student impact and what they're able to achieve in a particular discipline area. And I think, don't let like the perceived stature of a particular project, but just look for something that seems meaningful and significant, and especially within your circles of influence, because they're probably maybe not known as far elsewhere, and they will help other people. So that's also my little message there. So again, thank you for folks listening live and who might watch later. And again, thank you, Terry, Giovanni, and Paula for joining us. And of course, Marcella for helping me and partnering with me on running the awards program. And I certainly see why it's been so exciting for you over the years.
We love it. Thank you, Terry, Giovanni, and Paola for being part of the conversation, and Alan for bringing us together. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing your nominations and celebrating the awards in September.
All right. So we will say goodbye, and we'll go out with the little bit of outro music. And thank you again, everybody.